Sill's here with Tapped In, and today's guest is Phillip Aguilar from the Eyrie. Hi,
Yes. Hi.
how's it going over there?
Going. It's going.
Yeah?
Yeah,
How's
everything's
your week
going good right
been?
now. What's that?
How's your week been so far?
It's been good. It's been steady, kind
Yeah.
of have our flow right now that we're doing. And yeah, I can't complain. It's a good week.
Awesome. Well, we would like to get to know you a little bit more. So we have a couple questions. Is that okay with you?
Bring it.
All right.
Just don't
So
get
I
too personal.
guess, okay, I'll try not to. All right, so tell us a little bit about how you got into jujitsu. How did that all start?
So I was a baseball kid growing up, from 5 years old all the way to high school and stuff. And when I graduated, I wasn't in love with baseball anymore. It was just like, I was bored of it. And I started working out, started going to the Y and doing like a kickboxing class with a buddy of mine. And so I liked it. It was cool. And then when he got me hip to like oh, check this out. This is Pride and this is UFC. I was like, oh, that's cool. I can see the kickboxing. And I'm like, what happens when they go on the ground with that stuff? As they're wrestling around? He's like, oh, that's jujitsu. I was like, oh man, I like that. I want to try that. And this is a long time ago, but at the time, probably like 2003, 2004, here in Tucson, we didn't have a lot of options. There wasn't, there's maybe like three gyms, in town, no black belts. That was the cool thing. There's zero black belts in Tucson. So, um, yeah, looked around and found a place and just fell in love and never looked back.
That is awesome. So
Yeah.
tell us how you got, well, we know how you got into jujitsu, but like, how did you become a professor? So how did that all start? What motivated you to start up a school and become a professor?
So I think even when I was just starting out, maybe blue belt, um, I always wanted to, have my own place, have my own gym. It was always in the plans, and I always had that ambition. I always liked helping people, and then as I got up in the ranks, I started assisting and teaching and, took over a pretty like steady night class and I loved it. And it was just so like you learn so much about yourself and how it improves your jujitsu through teaching,
Mhm.
and I didn't want to stop that. And I would have people, want to do private lessons with me. And I'm like, oh man, this is something I could see myself doing for the rest of my life. I mean, why not? I mean, that's what we love jujitsu. And if I can, do this for the rest of my life, I think that's all of our goals, right? And I mean, that's eventually, luckily, I was blessed to have that opportunity to open up my own gym.
How long has it been now? When did you
So
start up?
so the Eyrie, so I opened the gym 7 years ago. 7 years ago, and yeah, it was the best decision of my life. When before I opened up the gym, I was, I just graduated college and was working for a large company that could care less about you, and the money was good, but I was traveling a lot and I wasn't training as much, and it like drove me crazy. And um, fortunate for me, the company was moving my position to another city, and they're pretty much like, "Hey, you can move or you can leave." I was like, "Say less," So I I left, and again, that was in the stars, and that was just my push forward to just do it, and again, blessing in disguise. It was awesome.
Nice. Who did you get your black belt from? Or who did you
Frangina.
train?
So yeah, so my main training partner from like 20 years. His name is Manuel Flores. He owns Daimyo.
Mhm.
So he started his own gym, and that's where I was starting to teach a lot over there. And we teamed up with Ricardo Miller, Frangina, and so he's the founder of Paragon. And we were training under him. We were brown belts. We'd go out there a lot and train with under him. And yeah, it's a blessing to be under that under him and his tutelage. And yeah, so I got my black belt under Frangina. And yeah, and again, it's just when you have a professor like that, you it's more than just getting your black belt from him. I mean, he's just, you know, a great mentor. I mean, just with anything in life. I mean, I can call him about anything, you know, not just jujitsu. So, but yeah, that's where I got my black belt from.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about the Eyrie's name. How did that come about?
Yes. So I get this. I gave Heath a hard time all the time, but whenever he's calling our names out, you know, and I get it. You know, it's kind of like, well, how do you pronounce that? What is it? Eyrie.
Yeah. I saw
So
the pronunciation
yeah.
on Instagram. I'm like, that's helpful.
So, and not a lot of people know this, but so an Eyrie is like the official name of like the nest of an eagle or a bird of prey. All right.
Right.
So any like hawk or anything like that. So, but nobody really knows that. And so I've known that for a long time, but I thought that was really cool because my last name is Aguilar, and in Spanish, Aguilas is
Right.
eagle. So that's why we have our eagle. But so yeah, that's my nest.
Okay.
So
Really cool. All
yeah.
right. So you have competed before? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Do you still
Yeah.
compete?
You know, I do. I haven't competed in a bit. Actually, the last time I competed was for AZBJJL. That was the state
Right.
championship. Yeah. So
And where was
got
I? That
what's that?
one. I said, where was I? I
I
missed that
know, right? Come
one.
on.
I know.
So yeah, I won my division black belt, master two.
Right.
And yeah, so that was the last time I competed. This year, I plan to compete a lot. It's hard, you know. You can make any excuse you want, but as a coach and a gym owner, you know, especially when I'm bringing, you know, 60 people to a AZBJJ
Mm.
tournament, you know, coaching all day is so
Oh,
draining. You know, but like
yeah.
1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and my throat is sore. I'm like coughing blood, and I'm like, oh man, I got to
Oh
compete here in a
my
little
gosh.
bit. There's no way, you know. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Totally.
if I compete, it's usually at the bigger tournaments. So.
Awesome. Well, what do you mean? AZBJJL is big.
They are. Yeah, for sure. I'm talking like the, you know, the
I
Vegas ones
gotcha.
and the jiu-jitsu
I
cons,
gotcha.
but by far AZBJJL is, you know, the best in Arizona. And we love them to death. So you guys do a great job.
All right. So tell us about your very first competition experience. How did that go?
So yeah, so when I first started jujitsu, kind of going back to what I was talking about earlier, you know, my goal was to be a cage fighter and I want to be, you know, tough and da 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 da. So like the sport aspect of jujitsu really didn't click for me or like connect with me later on in my journey. So, you know, I had cage fights and stuff like that. But when it comes to like just pure grappling, my first competition was a thing back in the day, which was called Desert Quest. I don't know if you've ever heard of Desert Quest before. So
Mm-mm.
this was like it was in Arizona, and I would compare it to like a Naga, where
All
it
right.
was like it was good, it was cool, and it was different, you know. And they would allow like different grappling martial arts to, you know, participate,
Mm-hmm.
and you could wear your belt that you earned in that art. And I remember my first time competing, I went up against a green belt in like pancration. So I don't know how that, yeah. So I don't know.
Interesting.
But yeah, so it was cool. Like you know, you could go against judo guys and sambo guys and, you know, but yeah, it was interesting. And, you know, you know, I loved it and it was just a great experience. But yeah, it was not as big as, you know, the Gustavo tournaments back then. So
Right. What did you take away from it? What's something that you learned about it?
um so to play the game,
Yeah.
you know, coming from the background that I had, my goal was to get it to the ground and finish as fast as I could. Forget about points, forget about
Mhm.
all that. I don't care about points. Da, 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 da. But, I think a lot of my matches would have been easier to win, I guess you can say,
Mhm.
if I had played the game. And that was something that took me a long time to figure out and get right. Play the sport, get the points, hold the position,
Right.
So that was a huge lesson for me, and a hard lesson for me later on when I would, lose by an advantage or, 2 points or something, So that was definitely a lesson for me is, know the rules, know the sport aspect of whatever
That is
tournament.
100% true. Like you
Yeah,
definitely want to go for the kill, but
I
at the
know.
same time, it is a point game. So usually if it's tied and it's like the last few seconds, it comes down to points,
Right.
that's usually what happens. So
Hmm.
absolutely. Um, what are your thoughts on competition?
I love them. I love them. They're necessary.
Do you
I
think
know a
it's
lot
for
of.
everyone?
It's not. Everybody has their own journey. People come into jujitsu for different reasons. They want to lose weight. They want to learn self-defense. But I encourage all of my students to compete. At least one time. And it's a really good way to learn about yourself. Obviously, the thing is, how do you test or how do you match up against somebody you don't know? You're not at the gym. They don't know you. You don't know them. Obviously, that's the big thing. But yeah, competing is you learn so much more about yourself.
Right.
You are you going to put the time to be at the gym? Are you going to be consistent? Are you going to watch what you eat? So for sure, that mental part of the game or of competing, you know, um, like I was saying earlier, you learn a lot about yourself and where your breaking point is. So yeah, I always encourage my students to compete, even if they don't want to.
Awesome. All right. Tell us, how has your experience been with AZBJJL? Because I know we've seen you around. You bring a ton of students over.
Yeah.
We want to know, how has your experience been? And be honest. Be honest. Let us know.
Where do I start? I mean, it's you guys are the best. You guys are the best for sure. You guys are definitely the main focus on our competition boards. There's little ones sprinkled here and there. There's this one and this one, and there's local ones, but for sure, you guys are like the crown jewel of the state. And we want to make sure that we don't just take anybody. If this is your first time competing, you're definitely not going to an AZBJJ tournament.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about that tournament is that it literally brings the best of all of the teams in Arizona. And I
Mhm.
mean, just seeing from when I started to now, oh my gosh, like
Oh, yeah. We've come a
Arizona is
long
a
way.
Arizona is a beast, is a beast when it comes to tournaments,
Thanks.
or teams.
Yeah.
And I feel like the way that you guys have everything set up so professionally, the atmosphere. I mean, I remember when it was when I first started, we used to call them the Gustavo tournaments, but they were in his gym. It was a
Yeah.
tiny gym with like a boxing ring in the middle, and you guys,
I think we have some clips of that.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I probably have like one of
Yeah.
those 8 millimeter video
Yeah.
cameras
Yeah.
somehow. I'm dating myself, but now I mean it's so cool to see how where it came from the little gym to a high school gym to a college gym to
Mhm.
the Bell Bank Park now, and I love that facility. I love
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know how it's grown. So
That's awesome to hear, and we love having you. So
yeah,
thank you for the support.
for sure.
Um, so what are your requirements for students to compete? So it's their first time. What would you say to them? Like, what are the requirements for them?
Well, consistency is key. If you're not in the gym, you're not ready to compete for sure. If someone I don't push it, you know but if somebody mentions it to me, I make sure that they have time on the mat, at least a few months, at least one or two stripes, and that they have the basics down. Even if you're not going to have the basics down until you're, brown belt, and even then, but if they have, the basic knowledge for that belt level, they feel confident. Like I said, they're putting in the work, they're putting in the time, and they show that they want it. You know, if it's just one of those things like, yeah, I've been here for a month, I want to do this. No, definitely not.
Yeah,
Definitely
you're
not if
not
you're gonna,
ready.
you know,
It's
represent
a
us.
whole nother beast,
For
right?
sure, for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
All right. Let's see where we are here. Do you offer competition classes,
We
or do
do.
you kind of
Yeah.
just like run everything the same? You do? Okay.
Yeah, so like we'll have, so looking at the board, if we have something coming up, you know, we have a good amount of competitors. What we'll do is we'll have like a Wednesday competition class where it's just strictly drilling. I'm not teaching nothing. If you're in that class, if you're in that night, um, you better know what you're doing. If I tell you that you were going to go knee cut to backspin to a back take, you better
Mhm.
know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
I'm not there to teach. This is, I tell you what to do and you do it. It's
Yeah.
fast paced drilling, you know, and that's probably, we're a drilling heavy gym. Like a
Hmm.
lot of our time, even if it's just regular classes, a lot of our time is spent on drilling,
That's
you know.
awesome.
So we drill. Then we'll have like what we call 2 minute go lives. Some other gyms call it fight gone bad, but basically you're in a bad position and you got 2 minutes to get out, like a regular match. You know, you're
Mhm.
starting in a handicap position. They got your back, they're going to choke you, get out, you know, and then we switch or side control or mount. You're stuck in a triangle, get out. You got 2 minutes, you know, and then we finish off with, you know, either pits, you know, King of the Mountain, or we just go live for 7 minutes, and then we'll have some like conditioning days on Sundays where we
Mhm.
just do conditioning. But yeah, if it's a competition time, we'll pick up the pace in our normal classes. But for sure, Wednesday is like the death day for all of us. Yeah,
That is super important. Drilling
yeah,
is a must. Like you can't just go to class and take the class. Like
nope.
especially if you want to compete, you have to really put in the work. So it's really awesome that you do offer a drilling class specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So really cool to hear. Um, so do you talk to your students about the rules at all? Like when they go to compete? So before they go to compete, do you talk to them about the rules?
Yeah, so we'll go over like if we have regular class, I'll make a point to, you know, let them know, hey, we got this tournament coming up. And the fact that you guys have IBJJF rules makes it so much easier for us. You know, we don't have to go to your website and see, oh, okay, kids can do guillotines, or, you know, you can do heel hooks and the gi or whatever. So we know already the rules, right? So explaining the points, explaining, hey, you got to hold position to get those points. Don't put your four fingers in the sleeve or the pant, you know. So little things like that that you know, are super important. Obviously, we want them to do well. And going along with, you know, what we were talking about earlier, if you just go in there and you don't know the point system, and you were like me, and you
Yeah.
were trying to go for the kill,
Yeah.
you know, I can't tell you how many times I've lost because I
Right.
passed, went to mount, did a stupid armbar, and the person escaped. And if I would have held that position, you
Well,
know,
I'm curious, how do you tell the younger kids? Like, I feel like that would be so overwhelming for them. And do they fully grasp that, like the point system, do you think?
no,
Or okay.
it's a
Yes
mixed
and
bag.
no.
Some
Yeah.
do, some don't. You know, I think obviously the older kids are going to be more aware of that. When it comes to the little ones, we just keep it super basic. You know,
Hmm.
we do the whole count in your head. You know, make sure if you're in position. I think I think the biggest thing is just, you know, listening to your coach. If your coach tells you to just stay right there, you know, and they listen and they know what your voice sounds like or the coach's voices sound like, that helps out a lot, and they can
Mhm.
figure it out at that point. But yeah, it takes a while. I mean, even adults, I mean, they're not, the point system, it just takes a few times to go out there and do it over and over. Oh, I messed up right here. I should have held, you know, mount, and I got rolled over or something, you know.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
Do you think the parents know what's going on? They're probably lost, like out there in the stands, like, what just happened?
You know
Right.
what? I'll say this. I've been blessed. I've been blessed to have amazing parents on the team, and they understand that when coach is talking or when coach is doing his thing, we zip it. we let them coach, and they trust the process, and it's just relaying that message to, like, I got them, trust me, they're going to be fine, they're going to be
They
okay.
trust you, right?
Yeah, and I get it.
Well, they have to. I mean, you're the expert, so it's not like
Well,
they
even
know.
yeah, well, even so, you're going to have those parents that they never put a gi on in their life, and they
Yeah,
see
they
all the
have
practices
input.
and they know,
Yeah,
right? But
right.
no, they've been, like I said, we've been blessed. They're super supportive, and they understand that coach got it. So I've been
Nice.
lucky with that. Yeah.
Cool. What about weight classes and weight cutting? How do you guide your students with that?
So for beginners, I try not to have them worry about that. Whatever your weight is at right now, just focus on your training. If the weight comes off, cool, we can change weight later on.
Mhm.
But obviously, clean eating, if you clean up your diet, you're probably going to lose weight. If you train hard, you're probably going to lose weight. I don't make them, I don't want them to think about weight cutting. Oh man, I got to drop 20 pounds. No, that's ridiculous. You've never done it in your life. You're a 40-year-old accountant and you want to drop 20 pounds, and you think no, just
Right.
focus on your training. Wherever you're at on your weight is wherever you're going to compete at. For the kids, again, I don't even talk about that. I make sure that I tell the parents, hey, listen, the reality is your kids are going to either be the littlest kid in the bracket or the biggest kid in the bracket. They're not going to stop growing. So you're going to have some tournaments where they're the tiniest one, and then you're
Right.
going to have some tournaments where they're the biggest one. So that's
Right.
just how it goes. Trust the technique, no matter if you're smallest or biggest. If you have the best technique, you're going to win. So
100%.
yeah.
Awesome. So competitions can be nerve-wracking. How do you handle your internal battles? Kind of a personal question. I know you said
Yeah.
no, but we got to know.
Yeah. So I
How do
mean,
you? Yeah, go ahead.
it's you know, I tell my students pretty much, you can use your nerves and your anxiety, two different ways. It's power. You just have to direct it in the direction that you want. You
Mhm.
can take it to where you're nervous and you're can't sleep, and you're 6 weeks out and you're thinking about what this other person is going to do and wreck your brain and be miserable. Or you can use that energy, to train harder and work harder. And
Mhm.
if you've done everything you can, conditioning and diet, and you were there for drilling, and you were there for, at least 4 times a week,
You've done everything you could,
you've
right?
done everything you
Yeah.
can. You can't dwell on what other people are going to do. My thing is, and this for me personally, I don't care what this other person is good at. I don't care what this other
Mhm.
person is known for. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to impose my will, and they're going to have to worry about me. And the same thing for my students is, you can't lose sleep over a tournament. That it's a tournament. You do roles all the time, every day. You
Mhm.
just have a crowd watching you now, so
Right.
chill.
What advice would you give somebody that's competing for the very first time? So just one piece of advice.
Yeah, and I think it just goes back to not putting all that pressure on yourself. Easier said than done. I
Right.
get that, but if you make it fun, if you make it like, and as a coach, you have to let them know, hey, this is your first tournament. I don't care if you win or lose. The fact that you're going out there and doing something that most people in this whole entire world cannot do,
Right.
you already won.
Right.
You already, you know, did things that people are so scared to do, and be proud of that. Regardless of the outcome, be proud of that. You know, be confident that your teammates, your coaches prepared you for this moment. And if it went your way, awesome. Let's go back out there again. And if you lost, whatever, let's go back out there again. And some I think for the most part, people appreciate that, and they
Mhm.
take that, and it helps them out. It relieves the stress just a little bit, but you're always going to have nerves, even at black belt. You're always going to have nerves. So
Very nice. Well, this was so awesome getting to know you. And
yeah.
tell us where we can find you on social media and the school.
So Instagram, Eyrie BJJ, Facebook, the Eyrie BJJ, and then on MySpace. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have MySpace, but yeah, just the gram and
Throwback.
just throwback for real.
Yeah.
Just Instagram and Facebook. So come check us out.
Awesome.
Tucson,
Uh,
gotta
yeah.
represent Tucson. We're so small. Like I love it when we go out there and we like take on the big giant Phoenix teams, and we're just this little
Yeah.
tiny gym, making a little blip
You guys
on the
crush
radar.
it. You really do. And you
We try.
always bring a whole squad.
I
So
know.
we love seeing that. So awesome. Thank you so much for your time. And
Yes,
we look forward to seeing you at the events.
I will be there 100%. Thank you so much for having me.